20 years. It took Marvel 20 years to finally get the Fantastic Four correct. And I'm not joking when I tell you, this is how it should have been done from the very beginning. So here's my full review on the Fantastic Four first steps. The one thing that stood out the most above all else in this film was that of family. That was the biggest yet most consistent constant we got out of this entire thing, showing us that without family, we cannot do anything together. And there are instances throughout this film where that ideal is challenged but loses every time, showing us that family is the strongest thing that we have. And on the topic of consistency and the world that is the MCU, the futuristic retro feel is unlike anything I've seen before. And it wasn't just for show. They still made that a huge thing as this film went on, from very beginning to the very end. And in all honesty, it worked better than you would think, especially better than the other Fantastic Four iterations that we've gotten in the past. And there's nothing that makes a film as good as it is without a story and the actors. The story that is presented within the Fantastic Four related to obviously the Fantastic Four themselves, as well as Silver Surfer and Galactus, I think worked. I myself was very skeptical of this, knowing that Galactus is supposed to be this big bad and they're kind of just going with it immediately. But lo and behold, they surprised me and it worked. But it shows the Fantastic Four in a new light that we haven't seen before previously. No longer is it an origin story, but more or less what happens next. How are they functioning as a team or as a family? With all these looming threats that are coming down, how do you go about doing it? All that to be said, it only works if the characters work, which leads me into each of these characters within the Fantastic Four and beyond. I will say the character development in this film, for except maybe two individuals, was amazing. Sue Storm being the heart of the team, learning to become a mother. Reed Richards being the smartest man in the room, wanting everything to go his way, but learning how to be a father, knowing he knows nothing about that. Not really getting to him because he's a father. He's never dealt with this before, and he wants to know everything just in case everything goes wrong. But that's the one thing you can't calculate the exact same way that Reed Richards would, which is truly a reality shock for him. Johnny Storm wanting to be more help than just being a member. And might I say, Joseph Quinn as the Human Torch was not something I was expecting, but by God, I didn't know I needed it until I saw it. It was comedic, it felt fluid, it felt subtle, and it worked. The same can be said about all these other characters related to comedy and how they basically used one another for their acting. And that is how a Marvel movie should be. It shouldn't be forced comedy to get the point across. It should be subtle and it should work, and it did here. I think one of the more interesting aspects of this film was how they went about treating the Human Torch. Yes, he still has the aspects of what Johnny Storm is, but more or less kind of tweaked in a way that fits this specific version. He's not arrogant and doesn't hold the team down by doing stupid things. Instead, he helps the team in his own way that actually benefits later on in the film. And it's a lot of help that helps a bigger plot point that you weren't expecting from this character. Hell, even the rest of the members of the Fantastic Four couldn't believe it themselves, taking matters into his own hands to justify why he deserves to be on that team. While everyone else is doing other things, he's got his own thing that still benefits them. And as for Julia Garner's Silver Surfer, as we know, related to the Silver Surfer, she serves Galactus. She is at wit's end deciding whether or not she wants to or she needs to. And that is made very prevalent halfway through this film. She is dead set on helping Galactus in any way, shape, or form until her mind gets changed. And I just want to put it out there, this woman is a menace. This version of Silver Surfer, my God, an absolute dog. As a matter of fact, without the Silver Surfer, none of what transpired with the Fantastic Four against Galactus would have ever happened. Like, it would have been a slaughter. A lot of people were hating on her character. I'm telling you, she's arguably the most important thing here. And she is badass. Oh, she looked good and she played good too. That one scene where she's going across the world, you know exactly what I'm talking about? Yeah, that was crazy. I'm over here like, oh shit! All hope felt lost at that point. I'm gonna be for real, all hope felt lost. Anyways, her character development was very intricate and was very much needed to justify the things that happened later on in this film. And she was easily one of my favorite characters in this film, which is crazy because you expect it to be the Fantastic Four, but She's like a close second. First one, Human Torch, easily. And the interactions that Johnny has with the Silver Surfer is very, very important. And you see, that's the thing. There aren't any scenes in this movie that aren't really needed. Every single scene played a big part in some way, shape, or form, as every movie should. But there are some instances where they keep scenes in that don't need to be there. For instance, the Mole Man, all these other characters related to the Fantastic Four, they're mentioned, but they're not shown. They don't play a bigger part overall, except for maybe Mole Man to an extent. But it's not that important of a part. Now let's talk the big man himself, Galactus. This dude, when on screen, definitely felt terrifying and menacing. The design 120% looked like Galactus, and the CGI for this guy was amazing. As a matter of fact, the CGI throughout the entire film was amazing. The way they went about presenting this character was great, but there are a lot of things that I didn't much like about Galactus, which I will elaborate on later. Overall, a fantastic film. But just like with any film, there are still some downsides to it. And while there's not a lot, there are still some. One of which being character development for Ben Grimm and Galactus. Ben Grimm is literally just there. There is not any character development for this guy except for maybe finding some girl that he likes. But even then, it's not even that important. It's like they kind of had to pick and choose which characters get character development while Ben Grimm is there. As a matter of fact, the only character development Ben Grimm had was his beard. I'm being so for real. Now, was he a boring character? Absolutely not. He was funny, he had good interactions, but there wasn't really that much of character development for him, except for finally saying it's clobbering time. See, it's like the very small things. Oh yeah, and before I forget, Herbie was the absolute GOAT. I don't think y'all see that, and it's underrated because no one's talking about it. That dude single-handedly did as much as he could. Like, this dude carried. Another one without character development was Galactus. Also, they made Galactus look like a bitch. I'm gonna be real. I was expecting a lot more from him and his character because Galactus is meant to be that guy. But he's not presented in the way that you would expect from the comics. Granted, this isn't the comics, I get it, but at the same time, it's like, I probably expected a little bit more. He's not the devourer of planets. It's his ship that's the devourer of planets. He just happens to be there inside the ship, which is like kind of throws me off a little bit. Because aren't you supposed to be this big ass dude? I'm just saying, I understand that they did what they did because the Fantastic Four wouldn't be able to beat him, quote unquote, if he was that big. But like, come on. I was expecting a bit much. This dude just got bitched left and right. And yes, I am 100% certain the Avengers would have absolutely rocked Galactus' shit. There was no doubt about it. Aside from that, I thought this movie was great. You know, for Marvel and how it's been going so far, this was a breath of fresh air. 4 out of 5 stars. I love this film. Watch it in theaters, please.